Welcome to the Sports Watchdog radio show, hosted by Mason Kern. He keeps his nose to the ground to report on what's trending in professional and college sports, to inform, enlighten, and entertain. And now it's...
The Sports Watchdog!
The Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Sports Watchdog radio show on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. I'm Mason Kern here with you every Sunday from 12:30 to 1 p.m. and I'm certainly glad you joined me on this Sunday afternoon. As always, I have some great stuff in my kennel. Today we'll be talking to Hall of Famer Sean Merriman from the NFL and also guard of the Harlem Globetrotters Chris Handles Franklin. And also covering some sports hot topics and for you NBA fans, interesting happenings on the hardwood. Alright guys, so first at bat, you've probably seen recent headlines surrounding the craziness of what has been the MLB offseason thus far. Amid the fallout of the blockbuster trade between the Miami Marlins and the New York Yankees, which saw reigning National League MVP outfielder Giancarlo Stanton and his 10-year, $295 million, let me repeat this, $295 million contract get swapped for second baseman Starlin Castro along with just two minor league players. The Los Angeles Dodgers and Atlanta Braves have made big moves of their own. Former Braves outfielder Matt Kemp is on his way to the Dodgers in a 5-player deal that most notably sees first baseman Adrian Gonzalez get swapped over to the Braves. But the Braves have recently waived Adrian Gonzalez as he said he would only exempt his no-trade clause from the Dodgers with the assurance that he'd hit the open market in free agency unencumbered. So we'll see where he ends up going. But going back to the Yankees deal, it's kind of surprising to see Giancarlo Stanton leave the Marlins after signing such a big contract, but the Yankees have definitely bolstered their offense with this move. We'll see these two sluggers together next season in Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, and we'll just have to see how much production they get out of these two. Both were a part of the home run derby this year. The Yankees should be a fun team to watch next year, and who knows, the offseason is just getting started and the league already looks a whole lot different from last season. I want to pivot over to the hardwood now. The Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame announced modifications to their enshrinement process recently. Basically what they did is they changed the eligibility requirements for players, coaches, and referees. The biggest change allows retired players to become eligible just 3 years after their retirement instead of the original 5. And that's a pretty significant change because players who retired in the 2012 and 13 season were already eligible for the 2018 induction, but now players who retired up to the 2014 and 15 season will be eligible. So you're going to see players like Steve Nash, Ray Allen, Chauncey Billups, and Andre Kirilenko all a part of this 2018 induction class. So it's going to be a lot more star-studded. We'll see who gets inducted this year. Alright, I want to pitch it on over to the NFL now, especially because the playoffs are in full swing and the matchups are set. So let's take a look at the true contenders and the possible matchups for Super Bowl LI this year. Of course, you have the New England Patriots. They're led by their quarterback coaching duo of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and everyone knows their heroics of Super Bowl past. You never can count them out, really, especially when you consider last year when they were down 28-3 at halftime against the Falcons and then came back to win, and now the Atlanta Falcons that's kind of their infamous game. But I want you to consider the possibilities of having any team really play the Minnesota Vikings this year, because this year's Super Bowl host has never actually played in a Super Bowl themselves, and this year really could be the year they make it there, even considering their injuries at key positions like quarterback and running back. I think they still have a chance, and it would kind of be a Cinderella story if they actually were able to make it and possibly win. But two more prospects and another great matchup. We could see the Los Angeles Rams and the Pittsburgh Steelers battle it out in Super Bowl LI. This would be great. You have the glitz and the glamour of Hollywood versus the blue-collar grit and steel of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you'd honestly have the probably best combination at the running back position with the Steelers' Le'Veon Bell versus the Rams' Todd Gurley. That would be a great running back matchup, and I think that would be a contest that fans would love to see. But lastly, even with Carson Wentz out, I think the Philadelphia Eagles still have a great chance to make a Super Bowl push this year. I mean, Nick Foles still has playoff experience. He's a good option for a backup quarterback, and their defense has been tried and true this year. I think they have one of the best defenses in the entire NFL at this point, and their wide receivers like Nelson Aguilar and Alshon Jeffrey are still producing at an extremely high level, bounce back years for them. So I think the Eagles are a very dangerous team. And I think whatever two teams make it to the Super Bowl this year, it's sure to be very interesting. Join the conversation and let me know what you think about these and other sports topics on social media at @SportsWatchdog on Twitter and at The Sports Watchdog on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, speaking of social media, the social buzz takes us to the NBA, and our first stop this week is a pretty comical tweet, in my opinion. There was yet another poster in the NBA. Guess who? It's Larry Nance Jr. of the Lakers putting Kevin Durant of the Warriors on a poster. Lakers lost the game 116-114 in overtime, but they've definitely shown strides this season, holding in to two close games against probably the best team in the league in the Warriors. But in the video, you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope running the break, and he passes it on over to Larry Nance Jr., who rises up, cocks it back, and he throws it down over a skying Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's averaging 2 blocks per game this year, but he was not able to stop this one. The tweet's comment reads, "In the name of the Larry, the Nance, and the holy God almighty, Durant just got posterized into another universe." Now, that's certainly one way to react to a slam dunk contest caliber jam. And with that, we'll take a short break for this quick word. You're tuned into the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX.
If your snoring is annoying, get Smart Nora. The world's first smart, non-invasive snoring solution that stops snoring before it wakes up your sleeping partner. As you begin to snore, this solution silently and gently moves your head using a padded pillow insert. This slight movement of the head stimulates the throat muscles, allowing the airways to assume its natural position and stop the snoring. It was named one of Oprah's favorite things. Check it out at smartnora.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show. I'm Mason Kern, said Watchdog, here with you every Sunday from 12:30 to 1 p.m. on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. I'm really glad you could join me for this show, which is a great one. And on that note, I have a fantastic guest today. That would be former NFL first-round draft pick and former 3-time Pro Bowl linebacker Shawne Merriman. After his retirement from the league in 2013, Merriman has been pursuing entrepreneurial endeavors and now finds himself tackling the fashion industry with his newly launched athletic apparel fashion line called Lights Out for both men and women. Not only is his brand sweeping through Tilly's stores across California, but it's also engaging with NASCAR as well. So Shawne is here to speak more on that, a bit of football, and share some business wisdom as well. Hey Shawne, welcome into the Sports Watchdog.
Hey, Mason, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much again for being on the show today. So, first off, I just want to say congratulations on the success you've been having with Lights Out. It's definitely an amazing accomplishment for sure. But what actually sparked the idea for the brand in the first place, and why did you decide for fashion to be your niche post-retirement?
For me, I've always been into fashion, as you see a lot of guys, athletes in general, being involved in the fashion world. I think that the two, sport and entertainment and fashion, all three of those things collide. In 2006, 2007, when I got drafted in San Diego in 2005, 2006, I launched the Lights Out clothing line. And at first, I just wanted to make T-shirts and hats that Chargers fans would wear to the game. And I said, okay, cool, you know what, I like this. It's awesome branding. It's fun. It's Charger blue colors, and people loved it. They wore it, and we would sell thousands of units. And that's when I knew I had something that I really loved doing. I always felt that Lights Out was bigger than one person, even though that was a nickname given to me my sophomore year in high school at Frederick Douglass in Marlboro, Maryland. But I felt like Lights Out just had such a more of a bigger meaning than one guy. So I launched it into a brand. Now I'm signing athletes across multiple different sports, action sports. As you just mentioned, Jesse Awuji, who's my driver in the NASCAR Canyon West Series. And just the success we've had at Tilly's has been great.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned NASCAR and how you're partnering with the driver there. Can you tell us more about that initiative and what your overarching goals are there?
Yeah, well, I got a chance to meet Jesse Awuji, who's one of two African Americans in the sport of NASCAR. I've been around the sport since 2008 when they had me to come out to be a grand marshal at the Fontana races, and I just fell in love with the sport. So I kind of hung around and got a chance to meet Jesse about a year ago. And, I came in initially as his car owner, but now also being a part of the team and also selling a product and pushing apparel that racing the NASCAR-themed Lights Out apparel in certain parts of the country. So to me, it's been an adventure. For one, I think the NASCAR is a great sport. We would love to be able to bring more diversity, more people and minorities who wouldn't have the opportunity to come to races we would like to get them out to more races and see how great of a sport it is.
Now, can you give us any insight on what will be new and exciting for the lineup ahead, looking into the rest of 2018?
But we're definitely expanding the line into more of joggers and more casual wear. There's been really a big hit for us on e-commerce. You can go to lifestylebrand.com, and we sell a bunch of product that's not in-source on there. But we're definitely expanding the product across cities across the country.
All right, now back onto the business front. You have such great things going on and are obviously on top of your game. So on that note, so many professional athletes struggle after they retired. So for you, what was the hardest part of transitioning from being an NFL linebacker to becoming an entrepreneur?
Well, one of the biggest things about being an athlete, right, is we love the competitiveness. We love to compete week in and week out. Sundays, running out to the crowd, 70,000 people yelling and screaming your name, going crazy. And one day that stops. Right, it stops, and it's not the same anymore. The regimen of waking up, 6:30 in the morning, getting in the gym, going to watch film study, practice, and just being around your teammates in the locker room, these things change. So it's hard for guys to transition from the life that we lived till we were 10 years old, now moving to something else. For me, it was. I'm not going to say easy because nothing's easy about moving on from something you've been doing since you were a kid, but it was better, I guess, in my situation because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do some TV and broadcast and stay around the sport, but I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be able to go out and build a great company, and I wanted to be able to have my own athletes one day, and here we are.
All right, now I want to shift over to this current NFL season. I understand that earlier this year you were again a guest speaker at the Chargers Rookie Transition Program. So what were some of the main insights you had for this year's rookie squad, and have you seen any of your advice actually playing out on the field?
Yeah, my number one advice was to remain focused on your job, right? Because when you get drafted and you're a young rookie and you come from college and now you're playing on the biggest platform in the country. Football is the biggest sport and probably the most watched sport in the country. And you have all these different opportunities, your publicists, your financial advisors, people want you to come and show up at this place, appearances. And all in all, you have to be able to focus on one thing, and that's your craft. And for me, when I came in, that was one thing I struggled with. I had so many opportunities. It was things coming left and right, and so many things coming fast. And I had to really take my time, slow everything down, and realize that football was the main objective, and everything else came second.
Now, what do you think about all the controversy surrounding this NFL season with the national anthem protests, the president's comments, and all these events that have been making headlines throughout this campaign?
Initially, when Colin Kaepernick kneeled, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, right? If I was in his situation, I wouldn't have. I believe that we have, as an NFL player, we have a big enough platform. We got social media, different publications, digital media, TV, networks. There's so many different opportunities to express yourself and organize groups, doing whatever you want to, so I wouldn't have did it in that place. Being said of what he was standing up for, obviously we have a problem here in this country, and that's what he was exercising his right to do. I've always felt like, if people had a issue with him doing it, maybe they should have had an issue with some of the problems that's going on here in our country. So that was my personal feeling about that. I wish it wasn't made a bigger deal and didn't cause such a divide in NFL and such a big ruckus, because I think the people's ideas about what the meaning of what he was trying to accomplish got confused. And it caused a stir. It caused stirs in plenty of locker rooms. It caused stirs in the media and on organizations. It was a huge problem, and I wish it would have got handled in a different way earlier to really get guys focused on the game of football, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. I mean, you can have your causes and what you believe in. Everybody has different beliefs, and that's great. But the biggest thing is to remain focused on the task at hand, and that's to win football games.
Obviously, another big story was the Chargers' move from San Diego to Los Angeles, as you well know. And considering you were with the organization for 6 years between 2005 and 2010, do you see the Chargers ever making a return to San Diego? And if they do you see the fans in San Diego receiving Dean Spanos and the rest of the organization in good favor?
Yeah, I don't see them moving back. I was one of the guys that wanted them, obviously, and also my former teammates that I played with as well, wanted the team to stay in San Diego. I've adjusted to the move, and I've been to just about every home game this year. And they started 0-4. That's the biggest issue. I don't believe that the move had a whole lot to do with it. But when you have fans who grew up and loved the San Diego Chargers at the time, and now you start the season off 0-4, it's difficult. You got to win some games early to win people back over. That's just what it's about. And they went 0-4, and they had a good stretch of the season where they won some games back-to-back, and it looked like they were really coming together. And they lost the back-to-back games to the Patriots and then to the Jaguars, which they obviously could have won. So they need to just figure out their identity, get back to winning in order to get those fans who are already on the fence about following the team anyway.
Well, Sean, altogether you've provided the Sports Watchdog listeners with some really great information and certainly much to think about, so thank you so much for sharing. We definitely all need to head to Tilly's for some lights out apparel, right?
Oh, absolutely. Make sure you guys check us out at Tilly's.
All right, everyone. Once again, I'm Mason Kern, and when we come back, we'll be speaking to Handles Franklin, guard for the Harlem Globetrotters, about his inspirations and accomplishments thus far in his career. You're tuned in to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX.
For those seeking serious skills on the green, up your game with Blast Motion Golf, the world's most accurate and consistent real-time motion capture technology for driving and putting. This removable Bluetooth-connected motion sensor attaches to a driver or putter shaft. It analyzes and records putts and full swings for 8 hours, allowing users to quantify progress, view video highlights, and share videos via social networks. Learn more at blastmotion.com.
Hey there, welcome back to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. I'm your host, Mason Kern. And for today, I have a fantastic guest that I'm super excited about, and that would be 10-season Harlem Globetrotter veteran Chris Handles Franklin. This Lock Haven University, Pennsylvania graduate used his intense ball handling ability to finish his career second on the school's all-time assist list and fifth on the all-time steals list. He finished in the top 10 in the nation in assists and steals not just once, but twice in his college career. Handles was introduced to the game by watching the Globetrotters in animation in the 1970s as he was growing up, and now he's living a dream, as he says, reveling in being a Globetrotter himself. Having put himself on the map in numerous television commercials from 2000 to 2004, freestyling with other basketball stars like Paul Pierce and Vince Carter, the mind-blowing talent he displayed in those commercials was only part of what brought him to the Globetrotters' attention. And in addition to his ball handling, Handles is also a trick shot aficionado. He holds the Guinness World Record for the farthest kneeling basketball shot made backwards, 60 feet, 7.5 inches, which he set on November 12th of 2015. So Handles is here to tell us more about his inspirations and accomplishments, what's coming up for the Harlem Globetrotters in the months ahead, and even share some success insights beyond the game. Hey there, Handles. Welcome into the Sports Watchdog. Great to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, so glad to have you on the show today. Now, first off, I just want to say congrats on all the success you've realized with the Harlem Globetrotters. I mean, with 10 seasons under your belt, you've definitely had an amazing run yourself. But what are some of the main factors that have allowed you to remain with the organization for so long?
Well, I think with anything you do, you strive to be the best that you can be. I've perfected not only dribbling the basketball, but other aspects of being a Harlem Globetrotter. So I think that helped with my longevity and building such a great career with an iconic organization.
Now, I also understand that the Harlem Globetrotters have an up-and-coming world tour called The Amazing Feats of Basketball. So can you tell us a little more about that and what's in store for ticket holders?
Well, of course, they'll see high-flying slam dunks, amazing ball handling, and great comedy. But most important, a lot of smiles and memories that'll last a lifetime. It's called Amazing Feats of Greatness because, a number of us are world record holders, and the fans are in store for a great, great game this year.
Now, I want to talk to you about the 4-point shot that the Globetrotters introduced in 2010, especially because I just saw you guys shooting around that mark with Golden State Warriors shooting guard Klay Thompson. So, Handles, do you think this is a thing that the leagues overseas or even the NBA may adopt in the near future?
You know what? I really, truly believe that it's something that the NBA will adopt. At one time, they didn't have the three-point line. Players are getting stronger and more athletic, and the dimensions of the court are staying the same. So it's only right that you widen it out. And I think a shot 30 feet away from the basket would be a perfect addition to the NBA.
Well, especially considering how the NBA has changed from being a big man centers league to now seeming like almost everybody can shoot from behind the three-point line, and the transition to a more guard-oriented game. But it would make sense for a 4-point line to be introduced, I agree. Now, you've personally been fortunate enough to travel the world, but what has been among the most memorable experiences either on or off the court for you with the Globetrotters?
Well, I've traveled to 81 countries around the globe, and I've traveled to every single state in the U.S., and I think some of the most memorable moments were, I got a chance to see the pyramids in Egypt. I got a chance to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower. I walked the Great Wall of China. I even played basketball at the White House with former President Barack Obama. So all of those things are just amazing experiences that I had an opportunity to do over my career.
Shifting over to the current NBA season now, we were just talking about the 4-point line and how that could possibly be in the near future, but what is your take on the current standing of the league, the NBA specifically, in the formation of what are known as the super teams, such as the Golden State Warriors, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Oklahoma City Thunder, the Houston Rockets, and all these other teams curating high-level players to make a run at the NBA Finals?
Well, I think like anything with times, you evolve. I really enjoyed the old days when players stuck to their teams, but I understand players coming together to form a super team, and playing on a super team myself with the Harlem Globetrotters, I can't be but so mad at it.
Yeah, I understand that. It's definitely a perk for you and your team, but specifically for you, do you have any NBA playoffs predictions this year?
Yeah, I think this year the Sixers will make it for the first time in a long time into the playoffs. And also that Celtic team is looking really amazing. It looks like an amazing young team. And so it's great to see such a team that's considered an underdog be an overdog, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. This past NBA offseason was one of the more lucrative for teams in terms of garnering so much new talent through the draft and the trades, but I want to digress for a minute now towards football relating to the NFL. Being a professional high-level athlete yourself, what do you make of all the controversy surrounding this NFL season in terms of the national anthem protests, the president's comments, and all these events making headlines this year?
Well, there's a couple things I think about it. Well, first, as Harlem Globetrotters, our very uniform is that of the flag, and although I don't believe that his intentions were to mix those two up, as an organization, I don't think we would ever choose to confuse the two. Actually, right now we're overseas entertaining the troops. We go to entertain the troops every year. But I think the beauty about having freedom of speech and having those amazing troops fight for us is that you do have exactly that, freedom of speech. So I think I've chosen to respect everyone's views all around the board, and I think America gives us that right to respect each and everyone's views, whether we like them or not.
What about other challenges on the road to success? Obviously, that road can be really rocky sometimes, as I'm sure you can imagine. So what do you feel was your own greatest challenge or even sacrifice along the way?
Well, I had many. When I first sent a tape to the Harlem Globetrotters or a video to the Harlem Globetrotters, they told me no. It didn't work out, but I kept going and persevered. I became known as one of the best dribblers in the world, and the Globetrotters came looking for me. So I would say to kids out there to persevere and persevere and get through everything that they're going through. And so the challenge is they can make it through.
Now, at this point in your life and success and all that you've been through to get where you are, what advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
Well, you know what? I tend to live the same things that I preach to the kids nowadays, and I think those are the things that help me become successful. First, I teach kids to listen to their parents, teachers, and their coaches, because those people are trying to lead them in the right direction. They've made mistakes so that children don't have to. Number two, I would say stay in school and work hard in school and get your education. I play professional basketball for a living, but I have a master's degree. And I think I was taught to shoot for the moon, and even if I miss, I land amongst the stars. And lastly, I would say believe in yourself and believe in your dreams. like I said, people say there was no way I could be a Harlem Globetrotter. They would say I dribble too much, and now I travel around the world dribbling a basketball for a living.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, Handles, you've given the Sports Watchdog listeners some really great information and insights, so I thank you for that. Where can we go to learn more info about you and get a full schedule of the Harlem Globetrotters games worldwide?
Well, you can learn from the Harlem Globetrotters at harlemglobetrotters.com, and our social media is at Globies on Twitter, and I am at Chris Handles on Twitter and Instagram.
All right, gang, the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX will come right back at you after this quick word.
For athletes and fitness enthusiasts who crave killer audio, check out Under Armour's Sports Wireless Flex Neckband headphones engineered by JBL Audio. They offer a sleek design, JBL signature sound, and impressive versatility to provide athletes with a secure, stylish fit at the gym or on the go. A 5-minute charge provides 1 hour of playtime, and embedded LEDs with 3 flashing modes increase visibility and safety in low light conditions. Find them at jbl.com.
You ready to hoop it up?
This is Happenings on the Hardwood.
All right, guys, as always, at the end of the Sports Watchdog Radio Show here on 1100 KFNX, we're going to pivot and focus on some basketball. So this week I'm talking college hoops as it pertains to the story of 2 Arizona schools' basketball programs. And in the preseason AP poll, the University of Arizona Wildcats were ranked 3rd in the nation, whilst the Arizona State Sun Devils found themselves unranked yet again. Yet 14 games into the season, it's the Sun Devils who find themselves sitting in 4th place nationally in the AP poll for the first time since 1981. They reached an undefeated record at 10-0 for the first time in program history and extended that undefeated streak to 12 games before finally losing 84-78 to their rival Arizona Wildcats, who were ranked 17th in the nation at that time. So the Wildcats have played 16 games and now sit at 14th nationally. But their main threat is a little different than Arizona State's. Their main threat lies in the post as a 7'1", 250-pound forward, DeAndre Ayton, plays like a man amongst boys. Ayton bullied his way through the game against the Sun Devils to finish the night with 23 points and 19 rebounds, and he's really looking like a lottery pick in this year's draft if he decides to go, in my opinion. He's really quite a behemoth, a menace, really. But the Sun Devils play a style of basketball much like the Houston Rockets of the NBA. It's much different than Arizona's, who likes to play through their post, but you have their guard, the ASU's guards duo of Trey Holder and Shannon Evans II, and they play with a quick pace, and their forwards play with a tenacity to crash the boards when necessary. But Trey Holder and Shannon Evans II have allowed ASU to space the floor and run a really versatile offense through 2 players who can really effortlessly at times create their own shot. But their front court pairing of Romello White and Daquan Lake has been a menace protecting the rim and grazing the glass all season long, other than that game against Arizona when DeAndre Ayton really was just bullying them. But other than that, they've done a really good job in my opinion. But the Sun Devils rank 4th in offensive production this season, scoring 90.7 points per game at this point in the year. And the Wildcats, on the other hand, sit at 33rd nationally in this category with 83.5 points per game. But both the Wildcats and the Sun Devils cracked the top 25 in field goal percentage, with Arizona at 6th and Arizona State at 23rd nationally. Each team has contributions from a variety of their players, but in my opinion, 2 stand out this season. It's the Wildcats junior guard Alonzo Trier, and he's averaged 21.3 points per game this year and really is the dominant ball handler for Arizona. And if he works on his rebound and assist numbers, I can really see him going in the first round of the NBA draft in the next 2 years. But how can you overlook Arizona State's freshman guard Remy Martin? He has arguably given the Sun Devils the biggest spark off the bench in every one of their games this season, as a scrappy player known for his defensive consistency and choice of hairstyle. Martin set a college career high with 21 points in their big win against the number 2 ranked at the time Kansas Jayhawks at Allen Fieldhouse, their home, one of the biggest wins in program history for Arizona State to date. And with key players such as Kamani Lawrence out with injury and Zylan Cheatham redshirted for this season, while new recruits such as Lugans Dortz being implemented in the near future, it's really scary to think how high the ceiling is for this ASU team. Bobby Hurley, their coach, is really running the ship really well this year, so I'm really excited to see where he leads this team in the future. And Arizona State hasn't made the NCAA tournament since 2014, the year in which they were bounced by the Texas Longhorns 87-85 in the very first round. So, however, things are looking up for the squad this season, and they'll look to continue this pace into March. So, if you didn't fear the fork before the season began, I think it's safe to say you can fear it now. Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Anybody wanting to connect with me, the Sports Watchdog, on Twitter can do so at @asportswatchdog, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well at The Sports Watchdog. So until next time, keep your eye on the ball.
The Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog, Ace and Kern.